In a world where information seems to travel at the speed of light and traffic at a snail's pace, where the agenda of those at the helm doesn't always reflect the pressures on the streets, where the rubber hits the road, where there's queue of issues needing to be interrogated in the name of speaking truth to power.
Welcome to A Place at the Table,
where we set the agenda,
table the issues that matter to you,
and invite you to take a seat at the table.
It's another week at the table, and as usual, we don't disappoint. Fresh topical issues, no holes barred. I am raising a fervent lamentation. One day it go better, abi no go better.
Kids, it go better. Oh. For me, I'll be sounding the alarm on the looming debt crisis so that our children can see better days.
Amen. Since we have all turned gatekeepers today, what's new? I'm tabling for discussion. What happens when the living can no longer afford the cost of living?
Well, Zuma, I don't know about that, but I do know that when the going gets tough, the tough gets going. I'm steering our attention towards the future of transportation in Nigeria.
Oh, well, Yinka, we'll see where that takes us. I'm keeping a promise I made on a previous edition at the table. I'm writing another letter to the Southwest governors, asking them to revitalize the farm settlements.
They should check their post office
They will
box.
hear.
One day it go better. I go get money. I go get pikin. I know one day it go better. That is the constant and unshakable prayer on the lips of most Nigerians. Is this your prayer? Well, it's mine, even though I'm getting tired of praying. Things are bleak in Nigeria. My social media DM, direct messages for those who don't understand, is filled with all sorts of requests for financial assistance, from nothing is too small to $3,000. And no, I am not also politicizing the security challenges we find ourselves in while we are comforted with the words like, security agents are on top of the situation. A 14-year-old boy was shot dead by kidnappers because his family could not come up with the 300 million naira ransom. His body was dumped along the road, July 2nd, 2024. As if that is not enough, another despicable act has surfaced, which leaves every human being with a heart shell-shocked and drained. The rape of a 17-year-old girl by a police officer, Supol Owolabi Akinlolu, attached to the Ogudu police station, Ojota, Lagos. He threatened to shoot her if she did not succumb to his advances, so to speak, hit her on the back of her head and raped her right there in the police station. This is someone who took an oath whose job it is to serve and protect. Mrs. Aramide Olupono, the mother of the girl, has alleged a cover-up by the Nigerian police force. Is this the Nigeria we want to live for our children to inhabit? A Nigeria where a police officer can rape and beat up our young girls and women without any repercussion. A Nigeria where life means nothing. It is one sad occurrence after another until we put a stop to this wanton disregard for life. We can paint our flag green, white, green, paint it on the floor or the road of the Third Mainland Bridge till next year, but the rot remains and is inside. This is the prayer. Dear God, whoever is behind this madness, killing of innocent lives, no matter how high or how low, how powerful or strong, Muslim, Christian, pagans, northerners, southerners, no matter the political allegiance or tribe, I ask you, in the name of Jesus, who I believe in, that you, oh God, will speedily expose them, humiliate them, render them impotent, and put them to shame.
Amen.
That's my prayer.
Amen.
I mean, it's sad that we hear of these things and the fact that perhaps we cannot even trust a part of our security agencies, to do their jobs as it should be done. I'd like to start from the insecurity around the country. There is a lot of that, and because I also work in media and I know how these stories get multiplied, sometimes we make a lot of a deal about some of these things, and it's not necessarily as rampant as they are made to seem. That is not to say it doesn't exist, but I'm saying that because we need to encourage our security agents as well, you know, to encourage them, you know, to
Who
to
encourages
let them know.
them?
We need to let them know their sin and let them know we know they're working because they are actually working. The question is, are they enough? Are they doing enough? Maybe not. And secondly, we go to the other policeman. I feel like all the bad eggs completely need to be removed. And there has to be some sort of task force. We've always heard of things like that. Task force, this, against that. But this is, you know, a very rare time that this has to be doubled or quadrupled because people are hungry. There's going to be a lot more problems, a lot more, you know, horrible things going on. So I think this needs to be, you know, doubled.
It's a very tragic news, very tragic development, and there's no justification for that kind of violence, brutal violence, on a young girl and depriving the family of the joy of a teenager and all that. I mean, I have a daughter, and I can understand that. I mean, there's no way I can understand. I mean, there's no way that it will ever make sense. But if I put myself in the position of the parents, to be honest,
the parents of the children who their child was just shot because.
To be honest with you, I don't know what I would do. I'll probably do something terrible, and that's why we must raise the standard and the banner for ourselves in this country. And we must ask ourselves, what kind of country do we want?
Yes.
What kind of standard of law enforcement do we want? What kind of standard of service do we want? Because the police officer that did that is being paid from my taxes. He's not paid because, you know, they just found money.
Money lying around,
It's paid off the taxes that you and I pay, and is answerable to us to serve and all that. So we must have what you call almost like a doctrine of service. And everybody, I'm not just talking about the policeman. The policeman, you know, is on the bonnet today. Everybody's looking at him. But I'm also talking about the custom officer. I'm talking about the immigration guy, the passport guy, officer at the airport. You know, the people. The other day, the Minister of Aviation was saying that, when you get to the airport, the trolley is free.
It's not free.
You know, so he said that, and then there was a young lady that, you know, actually did a video. She arrived the country.
It was free?
It wasn't free. So she did the video. She captured it on video. She went to the guys and asked for the trolley, and they said to her that no, it's going to be 1,000.
Yeah, it was 500. That means it has gone up.
And all that, and she now on the same video where the minister was saying there's no whatever, she posted the video.
What did he say?
And all that, and that's when I think then he came back and said, okay, we're going to have to liaise with the other agencies at the airport. So my appeal, since you ended your advocacy with a prayer, and but my appeal today is that we as a country have to decide among ourselves what kind of country do we want, what kind of standard we want to respect, and then let that be our minimum standard. What happened to that lady and that family is not acceptable.
I mean, rape is the abuse of power. When a man of power and influence, you know, preys upon the powerless, the voiceless, and uses intimidation because he struck her with something, force, violence on top of it. So it's not just rape.
In the police station.
Inside the police station. It is sad, it's tragic. Especially that this is not a young man.
Yes.
He's a man old enough to be her father. So he knew what he was doing. He did it on purpose. And so I salute the courage of Mrs. Olupono and her daughter for damning the shame and the stigmatization that come with rape and going public with it to say, look, we deserve justice, we ask for justice. And I thank all of us sisters and brothers who stood up for them to say, no, you can't sweep this under the carpet. And the Nigeria Police Force has to own up to this and do the needful with that man. He's got to be jailed. He's got to be arraigned in a civil court and justice served.
Criminal court.
Because this is what he's done to that young girl.
Criminal.
At 17-year-old, he's maimed that girl for life. That girl will be traumatized about law enforcement forever. She will never trust law enforcement anywhere in the world again. It will take time to get over that. At 17, he didn't even look at,
I'll give you a clean child, then I'll go to Zuma.
Crazy.
The mother said the policeman's wife and his family, they came to her to beg her that she should, let it go, that he will soon retire so that maybe he should get his benefit. Then she said, what about me? My daughter has just, her life is gone. She wants to commit suicide. Is it because I'm a poor woman?
That's it.
That's what she said.
It's
Zuma, we had the conversation and I was like, there's no way you can look at this thing, no angle that it makes sense. Even like you see you're having a hallucination, it doesn't sit right any angle you place it.
So I've been trying to wrap my head around the situation and I just can't comprehend it. I can see 4 things: defilement of a minor, rape, assault, abuse of power. And all of this happened from someone who is meant to protect her, who is meant to protect us as a nation. It is beyond sad. And I feel like a lot of people don't consider women as autonomous beings. They are considered as commodities that can be taken and used
at will.
At will, anyhow they like. If the police cannot protect us, who is going to protect us?
No one.
If the place where we're supposed to feel safest is unsafe for us as a woman. A woman is not safe from sexual assault, not in the home, not on the street, not even in the police station. This is not the first time we are having this conversation. Similar conversation in the police station. And I feel like the consequences for these actions, they are inadequate.
Yes.
Particularly for the law enforcement officers. There is no reason why there wouldn't be stringent punishment for law enforcers that are going against the law. But then again, we need to ask ourselves, do these law enforcers, do they understand the law? Do they have a clear understanding of what constitutes
If they don't understand the law, why are they law enforcement?
Again, it doesn't make sense.
As a human being, you have a daughter or a sister or a mother. How would you feel? That's the first place, from a place of humanity and empathy. We pray, we speak, we act. And despite how exhausting it gets sometimes, we should never give up.
We pray, we speak, we act, and we sound the alarm. As long as we have bread, Kate, giving up isn't an option. The looming debt trap. According to the Debt Management Office, Nigeria's public debt grew from 4.14 trillion in 2005 to 121 trillion in Q1 2024. This is an increase of over 2,800% in 20 years, as against 127% growth in revenue over the same period. Of this amount, 111 trillion is owed by the federal government, while 10 trillion is owed by subnationals. Our debt to GDP, which was at an all-time low of 8% in 2007, is now approaching 50%. Many experts will unanimously agree that there's nothing wrong with taking debt. They'll point at countries with a debt to GDP ratio of over 100%, like the United States, Japan, the United Kingdom, and France. I agree. The problem is not in taking debt. The problem is what it is used to finance and the ability to service it. If debt obtained with favorable terms is used for productive purposes like infrastructure development, education, health, and diversification, it can stimulate economic growth and service the debt. But if it's used for consumption, to pay salaries and finance frivolous government expenditure, the likelihood of it becoming a debt trap is very high. Therefore, the real issue is about debt sustainability and not debt accumulation. So there lies a challenge. Is Nigeria's public debt sustainable? To answer that question, we need to analyze how much of our income we are using to service the debt. So according to the DMO, Nigeria spent 7.8 trillion on debt service in 2023 as against 3.52 trillion in 2022. This is an increase of over 120% year on year, representing over 80% of federally collectible revenue in 2023. There is no way this can be deemed sustainable, even though our debt to GDP is still considered moderate compared to others. The persistent gap between government revenue and expenditure, currently at over 15 trillion, has led to large and growing fiscal deficits, increasing concerns about a looming debt trap. To avoid this trap, we need to do three things. Number one, increase public revenue. Number two, reduce public expenditure. And number three, start exploring debt restructuring options. If only the politicians will get the message. Auntie Kate.
Which message? They don't listen to anyone.
Maybe they will eventually get it at some point.
US, Japan, UK, France. These are people that they can handle their business. You can see what they have on ground. You can see how they take care of their people. You can see the contributions that people make even in sports in the whole country. We, infrastructure, nothing. Education, woo, gone down. You remember our conversation when we were coming that my schooling was here. All of my education is Nigeria. When I travel, people ask you, oh, where did you study? Nigeria. But our education system is down the drain, even non-existent, because these politicians, their children are abroad. So why will I now want to sort out education in this country? I have no connection with what's going on here. Then development, healthcare, zero. What is the budget? The percentage of their budgets and whatever they pass in National Assembly, what amount goes to healthcare, to education, to infrastructure, except take care of themselves, car, and whatever else. We all know, I don't want to rehash anything. Who is going to pay these debts? It's your children and my children. Well, not my child. I've taken her out of here because I can't shout. Who is going to pay? Is the children left behind? Because by the time these people start dying, who is going to pay? What did I even say? Most importantly, who are the borrowers? We that borrow, who are we accountable to? Nobody. Who is going to stop this incessant borrowing? Who?
You know, the last advocacy you made was about taxation.
Yes.
And when we were saying that if only government can be structured, I remember Mr. Steve saying that if only they can structure the collection of tax, because there are many people outside the tax net, even when other people, many people also are
paying
overtaxed.
Yes.
Yes.
So you have given us preferred three solutions. Increase public revenue, decrease public expenditure. Those two are the... But then before I go there, the central question to me is, these things, these monies we're borrowing, what are we
using for Oko?
Because we are our own local government. We provide our own water. We fix the roads. We provide our own electricity. All of us are going solar now.
Yeah.
So
solar,
what exactly?
Inverter, Gen.
You know, and Gen, what are they spending the money on in the first place? Because if you're going to make me pay more, I should know what you're using the money to do, and I should know what benefit is coming to me.
Okay, I think it's a very, very interesting conversation. That I will start by saying that when you owe money, how do you pay your debt? You know, those are one of the first things you want to ask yourselves. How do you pay that debt? And you know, a lot of words have been thrown around lately, like GDP. Everybody in Nigeria now knows what GDP is, so to speak.
Which is a good thing.
You know, then everybody seems to also throw a lot around GDP per capita.
Yep.
And you know, whenever they throw that around, it's always very, you know, disheartening in the way that people think what that thing means is. Because at the end of the day, if you really know what the GDP per capita means, you're almost going back to yourself. Because what that means is that at the moment, Nigeria's GDP per capita is $1,000, which is for the entire year, thereabout. What that means is that...
$1,000?
Yes. And where you have people like Mauritius being $13,000, Angola being $7,000, Egypt being around $8,000. What that means is that the quality of my output as an individual of the population is just $1,000 in the whole year. It means I'm not that much of a person of quality and high productivity. That's what it means. Because Nigeria is ranking top 3 on the highest GDP, right? Then you now wonder, oh, why is Mauritius that way? It's that way because you divide your GDP by your population.
Right.
That is what that happens. Now that goes back to what Yinka said when he talked about public revenue. You have to bring money in. And bringing money in is dependent on the population, the quality of the population, the quality of what the population can do.
Yeah.
Right? And even the, look at your land, for instance. What do you do with your land?
Malls.
What are you doing with all of those
We build malls.
What are you doing with all of those spaces? So at the end of the day, the conversation is much simpler. It's just that it looks complicated, you know. And I hear you when you say that what are they using these monies for? Well, I mean, they're not using it for anything and all of that. We're now our own local government and all of that.
But we have always been our own local government.
Well, even when
From
we
time.
are, I usually like to make a comparison with a country like Qatar. I say that a lot. Qatar is just about 2 million people. The president of Qatar, whoever it is, can line everybody up and dash their money every morning. Go and eat breakfast, dinner.
Don't do anything.
Don't do anything. Just take this money and go. But you know, the way Nigeria operates and the way Nigeria is supposed to operate, especially with the size that we are, which is also an advantage for us, you know, is very different. So Nigeria must be productive. Public revenue must come in. You talk about tax, they're already talking about that.
For me, when it comes to debt, we need to understand that we are mortgaging the future for the present.
Of course.
And when we are mortgaging the future for the present, we need to utilize the debt in such a way that the activities it's being used for are things that improves the quality of the future. Otherwise, we are always going to be in a never-ending quagmire.
In a deficit.
In a deficit.
Yes.
And the fact that we currently, last year we used 80% of our revenue on debt servicing.
Yes.
And we are taking on new debts.
New trillions.
What's the plan for and not like revenue has significantly increased in that period. In fact, it looks like nobody, I don't think any parastatal is meeting its revenue target yet.
No.
No agency yet, as projected. And the fact that we are also requesting for a supplementary budget, which I'm trying not to go into.
Yeah.
And half of the supplementary budget is going towards salary payments due to the new minimum wage.
Yeah.
Again, Nigerians don't really understand causes and effects. And the governments, they're not doing enough in
They're not
educating
communicating it,
people
yes.
on what, if we demand for this is what happens. If we do this is what happens. Critical thinking, critical analysis is not something that we're very familiar with. And again, it needs to start from the top. I don't know what National Orientation Agency is doing.
This is a crying call to the monetary authorities, the fiscal authorities, to keep an eye on that debt trap. Because if we don't do something now, we will come back to where we were in 2005, where we had such a huge debt crisis that we needed to have this, you know, debt repayment agreement that Obasanjo did.
If only the politicians
will.
Only the politicians will listen.
will listen.
The matter of our national debt is a leadership issue. This one can be passed on to the citizens. Perhaps, like Funke, I should take to writing letters to the officials concerned?
Please join me.
Well, Yinka, we advocate because the citizens have a part to play in holding our leaders accountable. Absolutely. Since one way or the other, we are all in this together. Did you know there has been an over 110% increase in the cost of essential food items in Nigeria in the past 1 year? Did you know Nigeria currently suffers from its highest food inflation ever at more than 40%? Did you know that about 32 million Nigerians are projected to face severe food insecurity and hunger in 2024? Did you know that the average household monthly income in Nigeria is 108,000 naira? And the average amount spent on food is 105,000 naira. Nigerians are spending 97% of their income on food. Every trip to the grocery store is a pain to the wallet. It is alarming, and I can't help but think about the Nigerians at the lower end of the pyramid. This is a damning situation for us all. While people can endure other forms of economic and social dysfunctions, hunger can drive even the best of men to anarchy. The borders opening for 5 months by the government to allow food imports is only a stopgap solution, as this increases pressure on our already stretched foreign exchange and could roll back our agricultural policy gains as expressed by the AFDB. The First Lady Oluremi Tinubu's advocacy for Nigerians to embrace farming through our Every Home a Garden competition might have sparked jokes, but there is a critical message in it. We need to aggressively grow what we eat. The Middle Belt faces insecurity, and the Northeast deals with banditry. These are our main food producing regions, and they are unable to meet demand. It's time for us all to take action, bridge the gap, and build a culture of self-sufficiency. Growing our food not only provides immediate relief, but strengthens our economy and reduces dependence on imports. And there are no barriers to entry. Anybody can do it. For the living to afford the cost of living, the living might need to embrace farming. This isn't just about food, it's about survival, dignity, and the future of our nation. Remember, our future depends on the actions we take today. What are you growing today?
What am I growing? First of all, this is the quote I like. Every trip to the grocery store
it's a pain to the wallet.
Is a pain to the
I took
wallet.
that down
It captured it aptly, you know, because that's what Nigerians are experiencing now. And yes, indeed, 97% of our income is going to food.
How do we pay rent? How do we
exactly
get shelter?
And
How
this
do we
is
do
in
education?
part fueling corruption as well.
Yes. Yeah.
So there's a lot of waiting you carry, waiting you bring, oga alpha going on in the society. Then you've touched on the Every Home a Garden initiative of the First Lady. It's laudable, it's fantastic, but where is the land?
Where is the garden? Is it where I'm living in face you?
Exactly.
As a shift, let me
you know,
plant.
so, but where is the land? I know that there was some talk of land reform in the past and how we can do much more meaningful farming in the past, but it's neither here nor there. You've also talked about the living should embrace, you know, farming, which I've spoken to. There's one more thing you said, the border opening for 5 months. When I heard that, I think that was about 2 weeks ago, the federal government took that decision. I said to myself, is this going to kill the local industry, the local farming, you know, chain? If we're all importing the things that we should eat, when are we going to start planting and producing what we're going to eat? Is this going to help us at the end of the day? I don't think so. I don't think so. And you know, our people in Yoruba land say, Eshiwaju, it's what the horse at the front is, the pace and the rhythm and the, you know, the speed that the one at the back will also model after. The government, the federal government must put their mouth, you know, must do the right thing. Encourage people to farm. Make it easy for us to farm. Make it easy for us to produce our own, not all these palliative measures of opening the border. And so
for 5 months.
The first thing that I thought, oh, so rice can come in anyhow now. And chicken and all of those things. For how long? What about the poultry farmers? Is it going to help them? What about the rice farmers locally? Is it going to help them, this opening of border? I rest my case.
I think it's a great idea.
In what I have.
I think it's a great idea because, you know, I grew up in Festac. Moved there in 1977, actually. And we had a garden. I remember my mom grew tomatoes.
Yeah, it was a thing when we were growing up.
You know, all our vegetables, we just plucked it from behind the house. And, you know, and what happened thereafter is that every space, you know,
concrete jungle,
you know, gets taken up.
Yeah, in the spirit.
And we no longer have those spaces where you can actually plant something and eat. And so while it's a laudable idea, you know, if you don't have anywhere to plant a garden, then it doesn't make sense.
You stay hungry.
So, but what I actually feel, you know, listening to your advocacy is, as an investor, this is one of the reasons why it's difficult to invest in Nigeria. Because the previous administration had this policy around self-sustainability, growing our own food. There was the Hanko Borrowers program. There was the one funding rice, planting and distribution.
There was a palm.
You know, there was even a time we closed the border just to be able to, you know, ensure that we encourage these industries. And now, effectively, with one policy in another administration, we've reversed all those gains. Because in that 5 months, I can tell you that the volume of rice that will come in and all the food, which is needed, I must be honest, it's like we need it, will make the countries of Thailand and Co. and Vietnam richer on our exports. And not just them, but then our neighboring countries like Benin and Togo and Co. also will benefit immensely from it. So it's pretty difficult, you know, doing business in Nigeria, because you're never sure of what the next government is going to do, or whether there's going to be consistency in policy and things like that. And I can go on. I can talk about the motto policy of the country as well. You know, there's just no consistency, and we have to. I mean, we have to look at it broadly and have this, you know, conversation about how we can ensure that we have a master plan that, regardless of whichever government comes in place, they maintain that master plan.
The question is, why are we running away from tilling the land in the southwest of Nigeria? What is the problem?
You'll get to your letter.
Yeah, the letter, I think the letter will solve it for you. All I have are questions. And I said it's not for lack of arable land. No. It's not that we don't have. But how do farmers farm if they're not safe? If their lives are in danger and their crops cannot even be there for them to tend to? And I have questions. That's all right. What happened to the lake rice?
Okay.
What happened to our fada rice?
The lake rice is still there.
So at what cost is it? Is it still expensive? Do we still have to wait for the import? Lake rice is our own now, Abi.
Yes.
Fada rice, very healthy, is our own. What's happening there? We can eat those and leave all this basmati, whatever they call it. Basmati,
you know, I've done
for the Igbo people.
About that
and yeah, I mean, just to look inwards, like, you know, we're talking about some weeks ago. And then, as laudable as the grow your green in the house project is.
Every home a garden.
Every home a garden. Thank you for the correction. Before it grows, what happens?
3 month cycle, actually.
It's 3 months.
Okay, so before the 3 months, what happens? What happens? So all of us, we should be farming now.
Small.
Small. Okay, I don't have space. I should open I don't have a veranda. They say veranda. I don't have balcony. I should now go. How much is the potted plants? How much is manure? How much is everything? The seedling, am I getting it free?
No,
How am I going
you
to
remove the
plant?
seed from the tomato you buy in the market.
I can't buy the tomato, so what do I plant? We need to be reminded that inside and around us, we have everything. So that's what I see that project as, but I cannot be a farmer. I don't know how to
No, I
farm.
don't think you should be. It's about being a farmer. It's just about looking inward, just to use your
Yeah.
words, and seeing that, oh, I
My
have
looking
space.
is what is I'll eat less.
I know that more people.
Your contribution to food
But-
insecurity is by not eating at all.
I eat less.
So others can have food to
if
eat.
it's 111, it's 100. Yes.
Or 0-1.
Wow.
010. Thank you. Anytime it's comfortable, eat and leave it.
I think we're a bit too sophisticated for our problems.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
The way we behave to.
We are,
and-
we are broken bougie.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like
you know,
broken bougie.
exactly. You know, like
I
they
love
said, that
that.
if you don't have money, you shouldn't have taste. Now, I also think that our government.
Somebody said that.
Yes, last week, a few weeks ago. Our government has also bought into this same thinking, and our policies have also become very sophisticated. For, like we were saying earlier, a population that is largely not educated, not as do not really provide any serious quality or skilled or anything, economic value, you know. You can look at Nigeria and say, listen, I want to ensure that Nigeria has 50 million crates of eggs every year. What does it take to make this 50 million crates of eggs happen? What kind of capital do you need to make this happen? Right?
So, but who does that?
So it's a combination of the government and the people and the entrepreneurs that make that happen. You get, it's a very serious thing that you really have to plan.
It's a collaboration.
The same thing you can do with livestock and other things. You can say, listen, how much goats, how much meat, how much chicken does Nigeria consume? Then you look at that. You look at that capitalization and start saying, listen, 4, 5, 6 companies begin to merge to ensure that we're able to service these things to us. So I feel like we're too sophisticated for the way we try to solve our problems. Because if we think that way, an iPhone of how much and a lot of other things we try to spend our money on wouldn't be what we're trying to spend our money on.
Get iPhone.
Since we can't reap what we haven't sown, I ask again, what are you? What am I growing today?
Zuma, you're speaking a language I understand only too well, that of investment and planning. I'll be driving home my point after the break. As we look towards a brighter future for Nigeria, focusing on key areas that can drive significant economic transformation is essential. One such area is our transportation system, and its potential future holds the promise of a complete turnaround in our economy. We are aware of the federal government's compressed natural gas initiative. Nigeria is not just an oil-rich nation. We are, more accurately, a gas nation. Our vast reserves of natural gas far exceeds those of crude oil. Despite this, we have not fully harnessed this resource until now. The federal government offers to convert commercial vehicles to CNG for free is a monumental step forward. This initiative can dramatically reduce fuel costs, lower emission, and enhance sustainability of our transportation sector. However, the success of this initiative hinges on more than just converting vehicles. It requires a comprehensive overhaul of transportation system. The Lagos State government has been at the forefront of this effort, recently announcing plans to replace Danfo buses on main highways with larger volume movers. This is a critical move towards modernizing our transport infrastructure. The special advisor to the Lagos State governor has spoken extensively on organizing transport vehicle owners into clusters, a system that mirrors the efficient transport framework seen in cities like Dubai. In Dubai, a number of transport companies manage large fleets of taxis, ensuring accountability and streamlined operations. This model can be adapted to our context, making the free conversion of vehicles to CNG more feasible and efficient. The future of transportation in Nigeria, like any other sector, depends on clear thinking and political will. my advocacy today is directed at the government. The responsibility and opportunity to revolutionize our transportation system lie in the hands of both the federal and state governments. They must leverage the CNG initiative for cheaper fuel and organize our transport system meticulously. The government must leave no stone unturned in achieving a swift transition to a more organized transport system and cheaper fuel. This represents a major win for the government if pursued with determination and without reservation. Solving transportation issues will significantly impact our economy, akin to expanding our road network. This initiative must not be politicized. It is an urgent and practical solution that demands immediate action. By committing to this vision, we can pave the way for a more efficient, sustainable, and economically vibrant Nigeria. The time to act is now. And with concerted effort, we can achieve a transportation system that propels our nation forward.
Is gas cheap, though, beyond it being sustainable? Let's start from there.
It's much cheaper. I think it's going to be about 200.
Oh, fantastic. And then it's going to achieve the same mileage?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I think it's even better for the vehicle itself.
I love that. I know Niger State governor started something similar as soon as it came into office, sometimes last year. I have no clue what their implementation has been like. But beyond that, are there timelines for this? Because we are always very big on, we always have grand ideas.
Yeah, and launching.
But implementation is typically usually poor. Let's say we want to achieve 95%, or let's even say 50% CNG commercial buses across border Nigeria by 2020, end of 2025. That's like 18 months time. You know, have they gotten the governor's buy-in? Have they started communicating to the commercial drivers? What is national orientation? Again, national orientation, they don't do anything. What are they doing?
They make logos.
You know, we keep hearing random bits about this, but there is nowhere that gives a conclusive end-to-end information on how this works and the process, and how the commercial drivers can drive. This is me that is relatively educated and have access to information. So now look at the regular downfall drivers. Someone is telling me, okay, so we are phasing you out. We need to change your bus to something. The question is why? How? There will be a lot of resistance if there is inadequate communication in that space.
Going off of that, what you said, I said sensitize the populace. It's so important to sensitize even the people, the downfall drivers, the people who, I won't say affected because it's a good thing, that are going to, we need their buy-in into this initiative. And besides and above and beyond the launching, what is the work that is being done on the ground? I'm surprised you said government, because you don't like calling government inside.
Well, this time
you said government. I know, it's citizen and government. I will not allow you breathe. Yes, because, yes. When I said government, I said, is it possible? We have to also acknowledge that we have a lot of gas flaring. Losing our energy source, literally, and just letting it dissipate. If there's a way we can harness all of that, making the gas even more cheaper, it's just, hey, now we can bottle it up. I don't know if you saw that video about how China disposes of their refuse. Yes, did you see that video? You saw it, did you see it? Oh, how they, you know, they have silos, how they, you know, the refuse, they use it for road, for energy, for road, for, you know, to power. That's what we should be looking at. What are we doing with recycling? There's so much around us that if we just pack everything and find ways and processes and systems to make it work, we don't even have to go anywhere. We can self-sustain ourselves. But we need people to, the government, talk to the people, tell us this is your plan. We need you to help us. We need your buy-in. We need your support. We have to do this together.
A few weeks ago, we had Ladi here.
Yes. He spoke about the water transportation stuff.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think that he spoke about the launch of the transportation policy.
Yes, he did.
You know, and that's the first time that Lagos State actually has a transportation policy. And I think that we kind of reviewed it and in some cases even criticized it that, look, by now, you know. And so the question for me also is about how does this fit into this transportation policy? Because you say that, previously that we have this sophisticated way of solving problems, and that's what you see here. You just have this, bits and pieces of solutions here and there. There's no integrated plan.
Attaining sustainable cities is one of the SDGs, right? One of the targets of the SDGs. However, it shouldn't be at the detriment of the everyday people, such that when we bring about this transportation policy, then they're out of jobs. Because really, the informal sector drive the transportation system in Nigeria.
Absolutely.
So if you're going to start converting, thank God you talked about the cost of
And that's why they're offering it for
converting.
free.
Okay, so they're offering for free. How many people? What's the population they can deal with? So another point I want to make is about the sophistication you talked about earlier on, that we always, we look like we're too sophisticated for our problems. I bring that sophistication here too. I know that this has been copied as we copy all the time.
Copy and paste.
Yeah, we've gone to copy UAE system. Now we're bringing it to paste in Nigeria.
We are not sure how to work here.
Adapting to
Exactly,
local
without
context.
adapting, thank you, Zuma, to our local context. Can you capture everyone the way Dubai captures everyone? Is it possible here? And again, you said something earlier. We always think Nigeria is about Lagos and Abuja. What about this hinterland?
Yeah.
The Ekitis, as you said, Niger State and all those, Nasarawa, and how do you capture? Because this is how we go and bring policies that end up falling flat. And then we wait again, another
person will bring that,
comes,
rollback
and bring
then
something
I hope
else.
again that this CNG ultimately, you said is different from gas flaring. We hear you.
Yeah.
However, we hope that this CNG policy will also trickle down to this gas we're flaring, and maybe at some point it will drive down the price of fuel, cooking gas in Nigeria.
Yes.
But I definitely feel it's a step in the right direction, and I hope that we have the political will to make these things work. All challenges are surmountable. All it takes is vision and a corresponding will.
Vision, check. Political will, watch the space. It's time to deliver on my promise, my second letter to the Southwest governors. Coming up after the break. A letter to the Southwest governors: revitalize our farm settlements. So this advocacy is in response to the statements by the governor of Oyo State on food security. He said, and I quote, "We're not producing enough. We're not productive. The issue of hunger and anger in the land is a big issue. It's a big shame on this country that we cannot feed ourselves." I share Governor Seyi Makinde's sentiment. It is indeed a big shame that we can't feed ourselves. In 1959, the premier of the Western Regional Government, late Pa Obafemi Awolowo, created 20 farm settlements and 5 farm institutes across the Western region. It was modeled after Israel's agricultural scheme called Moshav. Moshav is a cooperative, semi-collective agricultural settlement where members work together to develop the land, increase the economy of the state, and defend the nation. It was an avenue for collaboration between government and individuals towards food production. The Moshav-inspired farm settlement scheme focused on rural integration and all-inclusive participation through communal interaction, optimum utilization of land resource, and rapid transformation of subsistence to large-scale commercial agricultural production. The aim was to achieve capacity building, food sufficiency, so that the farm settlements were fed with farm institutes, which trained young school leavers in agricultural practices for 2 years, and then engaged them in farming using the knowledge acquired. government-acquired rural lands specially were allocated to the participants also. So young graduates were then employed and paid initial amount of capital from the Farm Institute to discourage their movement to urban areas to seek white-collar jobs. It encouraged them to adopt innovative strategies, engage in agricultural production, and make a profitable career in farming. Now, we do not need to reinvent the wheels to achieve food security. These 20 farm settlements are still there. So my plea to Southwest governors is to revitalize these moribund farm settlements in their states. They cannot wring their hands in despair like the rest of us. John C. Maxwell says, a leader is the one who knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way. So we await Governor Seyi Makinde's solution to the challenge of feeding ourselves, with Oyo State, of course, leading the way.
Governor Makinde doesn't need to be ashamed.
No, he should not.
I don't even know where this is going.
Even me, I'm pausing. I'm waiting for the...
Let the man take his shame if he wants the shame. Why are you saying he should not be
I
ashamed?
don't understand.
Because,
Are you going to tell him how to feel?
yeah, because...
We tell men to feel.
Because he's in a position to solve it. You know, so
Good point.
I should be the one that should
Should be
feel
ashamed
ashamed
of him.
that we can
Wow.
feed ourselves. I mean, this is an executive governor.
Executive.
Executive governor.
but you also-
Immunity,
Oh, just hold on, Zuma.
Let him feel.
everything, you know, so he has a whole budget to run. All right? A few weeks ago, we're talking about the responsibility of a state governor. All right? And we have to address this because, you see, state governors get away with a lot because of our federal system of government.
They
where-
act like they are not a part of it.
well, I mean, they act like it's a federal government's problem. But it's not.
Yep.
Okay? Food is, they're produced from the state. So the idea that a governor will, I don't know, will speak in such a way like, I don't
not
really know
take
what is going on,
responsibility.
no, or I cannot understand what is going on. For me, I just find it completely, you know, it's like
Absolving
Absolving
himself.
absolving
yourself
yourself
responsibility.
of responsibility.
Yep.
We have said here on this at this table that the responsibility of the state governor is to divide your state into
said
square miles.
You said so.
Square miles, okay? And then ask yourself, okay, how many square miles do I have? How many square miles do I have? Okay, I have 2,000 square miles. All right, the question for me is, what can each of these square miles
Bring to the table.
bring to the table?
Yes.
And that's it.
I wrote here, I said, taking our eyes off the center, the federal government, for a moment and focusing on the state governments do have a duty to their citizens. And then you now said, yeah, because they always think that, oh, it's federal government. Now we include the local governments as well, now that they have their autonomy.
Yeah.
They are the structure that are closest to the people. So between them and the state governments, there should be something happening. But for as long as they're allowed to bring their begging bowls to the center, nobody is going to be inspired to look inwards. They're not even going to bother. They just keep on being ashamed and wondering why, who is me, why are we hungry?
It's usually sad when you hear, you know, people in government and politics say things like this, and they say, oh, we have a big problem, we don't know what's going on. Then you ask yourself, so where do I stand? I think somewhere in the, is it a charter or something that's the setup of the state government, it says something about wealth creation. I can't remember exactly how it was worded.
Oh, sometimes I think they travel to say they are looking for investors,
Oh, yeah.
but continue.
Part of that money we're owing, they're owing some of them.
There you go.
They're owing some of that money as
Yeah.
well. So that wealth creation, which you rightly, you know, looked at the square miles you have, you need to begin to look at leaders, especially of the state government, who are thinking like CEOs. I always say that, thinking like chief executive officers, because that is who they are. If you look
they
at
are.
even the
For a
powers,
non-profit.
Well,
Maybe an executive secretary of a non-profit.
no, they're more than just secretaries. They can completely execute. In fact, if you look at the powers of the governors, some, in a way, the president doesn't even have as much leeway as they do.
They're quite powerful.
Very
They can get
intensely.
things
The
done.
only thing they probably don't have is the security thing, which there are other ways to even harness those things. So I think that we need to start calling out that type of statement. I think it is wrong.
Don't be ashamed.
Yeah, yes. I think we should ask them again not to be ashamed if you need ideas. or
We
you
are
need people
ashamed on their
who
behalf.
are on their behalf. You mentioned the governor of Niger State. I'm kind of aware of some of the things that is
That
going
was
on in
been
that.
done.
There's some interesting things going on in that place. And I hope that maybe you
Can,
bring
please
it forward.
share, Zuma.
Yes,
You know, one
because
of
we
these
need
days.
to.
Yes.
No, I don't have the range for Niger.
Okay,
Yes.
Zuma.
Okay, so for me, as much as food security is a national problem, it is a state government responsibility because they own the land.
The land.
Yes.
You cannot be
Period.
absolving yourself of responsibility on food insecurity and be saying, oh, what do we do? What do we do? You literally own the land. And then if you need private sector partnership to do cluster
get it.
farming, I think what you're trying to describe is cluster farming, but what is missing in the current integration is the lack of farming institute. I
Right.
don't think we still have farming institute. I
Farming
think that's a
institute, okay.
fantastic idea to bring back.
Yes.
Because it improves the quality of life in the hinterland and it lets and reduces rural to urban migration. I think your advocacy, I love it. Again, similar to mine, we need to farm.
And I just wish
I
that
hope you won't be ashamed. But as you write more letters, maybe it will help.
I just hope and pray that our Southwest governors are watching and listening and will be a part of this table one day to come and explain to us how they're tackling the issue of food security or this food crisis. There has to be a way. You have to have a solution to this. You can't wring your hands like the rest of us.
No, you can't.
So we welcome you to the table to come have your say. It's called A Conversation because it involves you and I. Thank you for continuing to be a part of these big conversations that drive change here at the table. 8 p.m., same channel. Next week, be here. For now, it's goodbye from all of us.
Goodbye.
Ego
Sayonara. Goodbye.
Ego better.
Better, you go better.